Okay, so we're saying that we should start with understanding what measures actually are and why we use them, in Power BI. So I'm prompting Chat to give us a good a good analysis of this question so that I'm not just rambling. And why are they needed in Power BI? Okay, so let's see what we will find. Okay, so we have two responses. And here we go. So in Power BI, measures are one of the most important concepts to understand if you want to build meaningful reports. Okay, so it's quite important that we understand this well. So a measure is a calculation performed on your data, usually created using DAX. DAX means data analysis expression, and it's just the kind of mathematical work you do in Power BI, basically. The language or coding name that Power BI itself uses is DAX. While when you are in Power Query, the coding language used there is M language or mashup language. Okay, so it's saying that we should think of measure as a dynamic formula, okay, that calculates a result based on the context of your report. Example, total sales, we say we sum up all the sales. Average cost, we average all the costs. Profit equals, if you've got sales and you've got costs amount, you take those two away, you get your profits. So these values are not stored in your table. So that's one of the features of measures. Measures are like they are there, but they are not there. They are like virtual results. Okay, you've computed them. You can easily pick them and use dynamically as you want. Okay, but they don't actually physically reside in that report. So you can see them, but they are not there basically. It's like I said the last time, it's like you are in a virtual meeting. You are there, but you are not like someone who is in the office and physically meeting, but you're actually in that meeting. That's what measures are. Okay. Key characteristics now, they are dynamic, meaning that you can change them based on your filters, slicers, visuals. Okay. They are aggregations or calculations. Okay. Like when you sum up a few numbers, that's an aggregate that you will get, the whole, of them that you would get. They live in the model, not as physical columns. Okay. So they are not exactly appearing like these columns, like your measure is not appearing the way city is physically sitting in the data set, or customer ID, or first name, or any other column here. Measures are like floating, they are not physically there. So that's an important, thing to remember about measures. Now, why are they needed? Why would you, best practice is to always, especially if you have a large report that could also develop over time, best practice is always to create your measures, over time, because they are reusable. You can always use them in many different contexts, that you need them for. Okay. Dynamic analysis. Okay. Measures respond to filters. If you filter by region equals London, your total sales measures recalculate instantly for London only. Okay. Better performance. Measures, they don't increase your data size. Your report size is not increased because of however many measures you have. They are calculated only when needed. compared to calculated columns, which are stored, measures are more efficient. Then sometimes you need advanced calculations, okay? So measures allow powerful logic, like sometimes you may want to, calculate your year-to-date figure, say from the beginning of the year till date, dynamically. I need you to get me year-to-date figure for our sales. Okay, so you won't need to come in every day to change that calculation, because for every new day that is added, it just dynamically changes because you've defined the calculation as year-to-date. So as at January 1st, it will give you what the figures are. Now, you don't need to do anything further for that calculation to be automatically done. For every new data set that's added, or data that's added to the source, up to every day you come in, you would just see that figure change if there has been a change to your data set. Running totals, maybe every month you want to see how things add up. You won't, if you've done that calculation from onset, you won't need to come and add up your figures every month anymore, okay? Percentage of total rankings, and so on and so forth. So your measures help your report to give what it should give at different points in time, as long as you have given the definition, the right context to the calculation when you calculate it, okay? It also makes your model cleaner, because you are not adding extra load to it. And it keeps it simple and scalable. As more growth happens in the business, you are scaling as well, because like I said, you've not hard-coded your calculations in. And it's essential for your visuals. It's always better to use within visuals than just picking, okay? Than just going on to pick from, maybe the way I've done this now. I've gone on to pick price as a column, okay? A better way to have done this is that I create a measure, which is still going to give us the same figure, okay? But then I can, create that measure into different contexts, many different contexts that I want it for, as time goes on. I shared 2 Pragmatic Works videos on the data platform. I think one is concerning DAX, a lot of DAX calculations. And the other one is as it concerns data modeling. We will do well to actually watch these 2. They are really, really powerful. They would really help if we watch them. We would understand things even better. Okay. Now, I think that should give us enough understanding of what measures are and why we do them. I won't go into this second response here. It will just be repetition. Okay, so we lost the measures that were created the last time, so I'm going to repeat that process. Good for us, because we get to redo it, and yeah, and see it again. Okay, so one of the this part is not compulsory. You can actually create your measure in any of the tables. You can just come to the hover on maybe others table, click on those 3 ellipses and new measure. That's because you want to create a measure. So you just go on and do new measure there. Okay, and you are good to go. But just to separate our measures from the actual other tables, we would say, let's make a table where we want to house the measures. Okay, so I'm going to name these measures, okay, and just load, and that should create it for us. Okay, so it's loading that table called measures for us. And that is where we are going to quickly build a few measures. Okay, so now, yeah, there is, if I expand measures, we've got column 1 there. That's just a placeholder. It's holding the table for us so that it's not empty. Column 1 is not necessarily any column just yet, but we need it to hold that table to make it stay. Okay, so I click on measures and I want to quickly sum up our total sales. Okay, so I go on to start typing the name of this measure, which is total sales, equals. Immediately after equals, you can call up the function you want. I want to sum, so I call up sum, and then a list. First, let's see, the moment we chose sum, this dialog box up there is pointing you to what should come next. That is, for sum, you need a column name. What column are you trying to sum up? Okay, and there's a further explanation. It says adds all the numbers in a column. Sum would add all the numbers in a particular column. So you want it to be a column that is summable. That's numbers basically. And we are summing up from other stable. Price is it's price. And we can see after that, we can close up this bracket. We can use the close bracket and either press enter, or use that green tick there to commit it. Okay, and I'm going to quickly save that up so that we don't lose that again. So total sales is now available. I remember the last time we actually we brought total sales into a card visual. So after each calculation, I would normally quickly put the calculation, the total sales in a card just to see that it's done the right thing. Okay. I want to see the figure. What's the answer that it's gotten? And it's gotten us that. Okay. I'm going to save that. All right. And we can quickly create more. What more columns can we sum up here? Quantity. So I'm going to quickly sum up new measure again, and we call that total quantity. Again, equals. After equals, you can call up whatever function you need, and it is on the other table. So I'm typing O, and we need the last one. It will place them in alphabetical order for you. So there we go. Close the bracket, commit that, save the work, and let's quickly see what it's giving us for total quantity now, that total quantity that we sold. So 18, okay. So if I click on, very quickly, let me hide this. If I click on any of the measures that say total quantity, let me unclick and come out. I want you to observe what happens on the top bit here. So I'm clicking on any of them, and you see that top bit changes. We have table tools, measures tools. So it's opening up different tools that you could use on a measure. Okay, first it gives you the name of it on the home table, which table is housing it, the format. Okay, what is it? Is it in general? Is it number? You can change the data type of it here. If it's categorized or uncategorized. Can do a few other things here. You want to change the currency. We have it as pounds. If you click that drop down beside dollar, you can change this to any currency. If it's a percentage, you can change it to a percentage there. If you need to use a comma separator or to change the number of decimal places, those are the different things you can do, within. So the first segment there under structure, you have that to name and home table where it's housed. Then you move on to formatting, where you can format it, the properties of it, and calculations. Okay, so those are what you have that you can play around with. Okay, what more can we calculate here? Total number of orders. Total number of orders, if we look in the table format of the orders table, table view rather, we can count how many orders are. Each row is an order, basically. It's a different order. So we can use count rows to count how many rows, we have in this table. And so I will go here, new measure, and total number of orders, total or order count, however you want to name that. Just make it a name that is understandable. Total number. Let me actually do this. Total number orders. Okay, so that anyone can understand that we're just counting how many orders. So I'm going to use count rows, Okay, and it brings count rows. And immediately we put count rows, it's telling us for count rows, what you need is the name of the table. And it's they brought the first table there, and I'm wanting now to count the orders table. So I start with orders, ORD, and it brings that. So I'm counting the orders table, close the bracket, okay, and we have that. And if I, another card visual, I want to see total number of, so 12 orders is what we have, for that period, okay. Is there any more? Total number of, you may want to count the total number of customers that you have. Again, we haven't really defined exactly what we want to analyze from, and I did give us as a class to look at. Let's look at this data set and see exactly what questions do you think you could bring out from this, okay, from this table. If you were the manager or the head of sales or something, what would you want to see, or what would you want your dashboard to tell you from this data set? Okay, obviously you want to see your sales performance, okay, but how do you want this data used? Because it's the way that you as the end user would use it that would help me as a data analyst to know that I'm actually designing the right tool, for you. There's no point in me, and that's why those meetings need to happen, okay? That's why at every point, maybe it depends on how long the report will be built for, maybe every 2 weekly or every week or every 2 or 3 days after some work is done. You want to set a meeting to showcase the work done so far to your stakeholders, end users, so they can have a look at what you have done and see how it serves them, so that if what you have, how the much work you have done so far is not going to be useful, you both can discuss and see what you need to change up. Because at the end of the day, it's not about the beauty of the dashboard. It's more about how usable it is for those who would need it, okay. Now for our visuals, the one that we did earlier, remember that all I did was I just picked the price column and dragged it here. Now that we have a measure that's shows us that, which is the total sales, that's what I'm going to now use. You see that it's not different, but it's more dynamic to use measures for this type of visuals rather than picking, the price from the column. So I'm using that, okay? So if we were to look at our KPIs, we have made, 3.48K. Okay, I don't want that showing like that. So because I don't want that showing like that, let me see if I can format this. So I click on the visual I want to format, and this paintbrush, I go into the paintbrush and see where I can change things up. Okay, is it from the layout, the call out value? Okay, let me see the call out value. Yes, I think it is this one. So I'm going to change, is it the call out value? Let's see. I don't think it is, but okay, so it's the call out value. Okay, first I want to change that uh, font to Arial, only because I'm used to Arial. You can use whatever you want. But more importantly, show blank as, can't see what I'm looking for. Transparency color. I'm looking for something that removes that 3.48K and shows, it doesn't show it in that format. That's what I'm looking for. It doesn't seem to be giving me that undervalue. You see, sometimes this is how you would need to search within, it's not the reference label. This is how you will need to search hard all total sales. Okay, let's see if this would do it. So I've put total sales there. In a second, I'm going to show you something. Oh, okay, no, I don't think it's, yes. So I've indicated here that I want to work on total sales, not on all. And I know why all is showing. As I'm scrolling down, and under there, we see display units. It's automatically picked a display unit for us. I want to change that, and I want you to check how that changes. I want to change that to none, you see, and that gives us a proper value that no one is thinking which one is 3.48K. We can easily see that this reads as 3,480, okay? If we explore that part further, if we say thousands, express my value as thousands or as millions, you know, or as billions, okay? And don't be surprised that Workplace will tell you exactly how they want this to be shown, okay? So for quantity, do I want decimal place? Most of the time, quantities are not fractionated. Is there anything called fractionated? They are not, they are whole numbers basically, okay? So we come back to the card, choose quantity, and I love consistency. So if I'm working using Arial, I want to use Arial, throughout. And it's that display none, but value decimal places. I want my decimal places to be 0. So I'm scrolling down, decimal places 0. So power display, no, not display units. That is none, the decimal places. So Power BI is 0 is what I want, and we have that. And there can be more alignment. At the moment, it's aligned to the left. You may want yours aligned to the middle to make that, more usable, or not wonky, if you like. Okay, so, and most of the time, again, I will just work on one of them, complete work on one of them. So we have, this is a multi-card layout. It's not just for one value, you see. That's why you are having all and total sales under that segment. It's a card that can display many values. So I think what I should have done was to put all of these ones in the same, because it's, let me see. This is the card I've used. It just says card. We used to have two types of cards. One that displays just one value, and this multi-row card. I don't know what happens. Let me see if I can add more values to just yes, I can. Okay. So I could have just, put all my KPIs in just one card because it's not for just one value. And if you want to, have just one value, you can basically do this or display singly. Okay, but I think it's all right to display them together, and just format everything, together like that. Okay, if there are more KPIs, maybe total profit. In this case, we don't have the luxury of knowing what our profit is. Okay, so and again, this has reverted to having that decimal. So if I go back into the paintbrush, it's the paintbrush that is used for any form of formatting that you may want. So on that here, total quantity is what I want to work on. If I didn't want total quantity, can you see all of the other ones have all been listed under here? Okay. Again, it may just be my own Power BI is the old version that I'm using. I've not changed it to, or yeah, I didn't. I used to use the new one, but I don't know when I changed it back to this. But yeah, I need a value, and I need for that value to not have decimal places. So 0. If I wanted to increase decimal places, I could just put the number of decimal places, type it there, or use this drop down and move up arrows, to do that. Okay. But for all of them, if I go on all, I actually want to change their not the value now, the label. If I switch off this label, you see what gets switched off. Now you see those are the labels. And we can again, I don't like using gray. Again, Arial. So and the color is gray. For those that have when you're designing, you want to also have in mind, some people may not see some colors well. So it's good to design with them in mind and use popping colors that would pop. That is not to say that we can do color riots. No, we can't. Okay, so these two are now using measures. Okay, so it is the calculations that you have done, that you would then be using for your visuals. Okay, again, this is just a small data set. We could have gotten away with just dragging, columns that we need to use, from our table, from our fact table. But even with small data set, let's get used to doing right so that when we get to using bigger data sets, it will just be second nature to us. Okay. This is all I can see from this data set, except you have suggestions. Okay, we can see our total sales by customer. Okay, and we can see that Sarah Ahmed has spent the most with us, and laptop in terms of products, laptop brought us the most, In terms of cities, we can use this slicer to interact and look at what Birmingham brought. In terms of sale, we had 1,300 pounds from Birmingham, 3 orders, and 4 quantities of products. And we can see that those that made that happen for Birmingham were Sarah Ahmed and James Brown, and what they bought were laptop and monitor. Okay. Same for Leeds. We can see what Leeds we just had 60 pounds from Leeds. London, 1,145, Luton £15, and Manchester £960. So we see that from this data set, Birmingham has brought the most money for us. Yeah, for us. Okay. But do we have any suggestions? Yeah, suggestions of what more we could, get from this data set? If you were the store manager, what more would you want to see from this data? Let's go to the table view and look at this. What more do you think you would want to see from here? Mind you, well, everything happened within January. We haven't really used dates, okay? So maybe we may want to do a bit of trend analysis and see how I'm moving these up. I'm aware of time as well. I'm trying to make sure we don't drag when we don't need to drag. Okay. So for trend analysis, we use a line chart. Line chart is your best if you want to look at the trend. Trend talks about how have we done in terms of maybe quantity of products or sales over time. I would go with sales, because at the end of the day, however many quantities that you buy or sell, or you want to translate that to money. Okay, so if we pick the date from the date table, and then we go on to pick the sales. Okay. Okay, I see what has happened. So our date has gone on to hierarchy. Okay, but I don't want hierarchy because it's just a few days in just 1 month. We don't need year, quarter, and all of that in this case. So I'm going to, click on that drop down on the other dates, and you see we have the option of date hierarchy. Sometimes you may want to see things from this perspective: day, month, quarter, year. Okay, so you can use the date hierarchy then. But I just want to see things by the date. Okay, so we can see 12th of January, we had that much coming for us. Then zero, okay, then by 13th, the next day, it was just £45 that came in, and 14th, even lesser than that, 15. And there was a spike on the 15th, okay, for 900. It went down again like that until we had another spike of over £1,000 on the 19th, and then down again to 45 on the 20th and 21st. And I believe 21st is the last date if we check in that data set. Yeah. So 21st is the last date. So that's how trend, I mean, this is big, like I said, this is just a small data set, but this is how trend works, trend analysis works. You want to see when were lows, highs, and a proper analysis will be that you want to see what brought about those high days. Those days you had high sales. You want to drill down and see what was the cause and what made us drop from 1,001 on one day straight down to 45. That's a huge disparity. What happened? Is it because of the type of product that was sold? They are high price products, or is there anything we could have done better in those 2 days before we had a bit of a pickup and then down again and then pick me up again and down like that? So the essence of this is not just to see the beautiful line, but to see what were the whys and what could we have done better, and for the future, what are we gonna put in place to get this better? Okay, let's assume that this is all that the dashboard, this is all you have been asked to show on the dashboard, and you want to start to design make this look a bit more eye-catching, than it's currently looking. Okay, so that's probably you want to choose your color theme, something to do with the colors used in the business, also a color that you've been given. You want to bring your company logo in, and just make it look a bit more professional than what it's looking like right now. So basically, mostly it's this page is more about KPIs and sales analysis. You've done sales here. Okay, sales have been analyzed by customer, by product, and also by time, by date. So it's all sales here. You may want to then do quantity, analyze by quantity or by profit if that was there, you know. Well, I think that's all we should spend our time doing on this data set. We can, if you like, we can design this better, see how dashboards are designed better tomorrow, or we can, bring a huger, bigger data set and start from scratch again and see how that helps us. It's our call. I'm going to stop or pause the